Hello and welcome to the Dance for the Culture podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about all things dance and how dance has allowed us to create, connect, educate, preserve, explore, and live proudly in who we are. I am your host, Lindsay Renea Benton. I'm a dancer, choreographer, movement director, educator, creative consultant, founder, and lover of all things art. Today's guest is none other than Laura Bethany Strong. She is a St. Louis, Missouri native and Howard University dance major program alum. She's had the opportunity to work under the tutelage of icons like George Faison, Louis Johnson, and Hinton Battle. Her collaborations and artistic pursuits include working with Christina Aguilera, Janet Jackson, Beyonce, Lady Gaga, the NBA, the WNBA, Dr. Pepper, Apple, Dolce & Gabbana, Nike, and the list goes on. She is absolutely no stranger to the screen, television shows, films, or commercials. And I cannot wait for you all to hear more about what she has done and what she is doing right now.
Oh my goodness. So today we have the absolute pleasure of speaking with none other than Laura Bethany Strong. Hi. So excited to have you here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime. Okay? Anytime. Most people know that you have been dancing, have been choreographing, have been coaching, have been directing, but not many people know how you started. How did Laura Bethany first start in dance?
I started at the age of 3. I've been dancing since I was 3 years old. I've never stopped. I danced all through high school. I did dance competitions. I got my equity card when I turned 16. I was working with the St. Louis Municipal Opera. I went to Howard University. Go Bison.
Yay!
You know. So, I got my BFA in dance from Howard. I had a scholarship at Ailey. I took that. And let me backtrack a little bit. While I was at Howard, I was a cheerleader for the Washington Wizards. Then when I went to Ailey, I was a cheerleader for the New York Knicks. And I decided that I wanted more. So then I went to LA. And there was more money, right? And it was lights, camera, action from there.
So was there anything specific about your training that allowed you to even see that there was more for you?
I absolutely think that because I had training in a plethora of different disciplines, you know, tap, jazz, ballet, West African, like you have to do it all.
Yeah.
And I think I said it before, like, I grew up in the age of dancers, and what a dancer did was everything, you know. And that has changed a little bit now. Some people
a lot of it.
Some people just dance, and so it's like one track, like I do this one thing, you know. So for me, having experienced all of those disciplines, I think it allowed and helped me with being able to have the career and the drive that I've had. You know, I've always been driven. I've always wanted to dance. I think it's a thing on the inside. You either have it or you don't. So if you don't have the drive and the discipline, it's not there, you know? It's work. It's not a simple journey.
Yeah, and it's not the same journey for everyone.
It is not.
So I know that you were able to hit the market, so to speak, but what kept you inspired? Because I'm sure there were long days, long hours, lots of moments of question. There were ambiguous moments where you did not know what that next step was going to be. And I think that especially in the age of social media, where we see a post, we see a congratulations, and we see the next job, but that's not necessarily the way that it always goes. So what kept you inspired?
Well, let me just say this. When I was coming up with dancing, I didn't have all of that. Like, we had MySpace and we had that, right? Twitter, probably towards the end of my career, Twitter came out, and then Instagram, you know. And I still wasn't doing those things, you know. So I was just like, oh yeah, okay. I was just looking at people's stuff, but I wasn't, you know, engaging and doing it myself. But inspiration for me, it came with the people that I was afforded to work with. Mm-hmm. So to be able to work with the George Faisons, the Otis Salids, the Hinton Battles, the Louis Johnsons, to be able to work with those men who are historians.
Yes, absolutely.
It was an honor and a privilege, and I just felt like they poured into me, and so it's my duty and honor to carry the torch and the light that they've given me, you know? So they've given us some great things. Like, we can watch The Wiz all day long.
Literally. Yeah.
You know, it's never going to get old.
No, it's a classic.
Absolutely. And so I think things like that and moments like that and working with people like that give me the inspiration to do the things that I want to do.
So at what point did you say, you know, I'm a dancer, I want to choreograph, I want to direct, I want to coach?
I think for me, like, being a dancer, I always knew that I wanted to be a dancer. So I did that. And at the same time, then people started asking me to, like, assist them. And, you know, then I was like, oh, okay, this is fun. You know, and it just gradually changed to different things. And so when I'm working with an artist one-on-one, someone like a Frank Gasson will call me in and be like, hey, I want you to come work with me. And, you know, I've had the opportunity that he's given me, like, to, of course, work and coach with Beyonce. And then I've worked with Brandy with him and coached her as well. It's just been a wonderful thing and a wonderful journey. So it's the opportunities and being present in those opportunities is what allowed me to be able to keep having different moments. And because I had already done the work and I had put in a lot of work.
Yes.
So when I got in the room, I can show up.
So what would you say was the work that you had to do to be able to get the moments that you were allowed to be present in?
So the work for me starts with in the studio, your long hours, the training in the classroom, training outside of the classroom, because you have to do it for yourself as well. It doesn't just stop in the classroom. Then it's also always being a student, listening. Not always having an answer, not always talking. Listening is very important, because you get to receive information that you may or may not have professionally, you know? So I think those are the important things for me. Being a student, like I said, is number one. No matter how high up you go, you should always remain a student.
So what have been some of your most memorable and moments that you value as a student, whether it was actually in, quote unquote, the classroom or just in along ways, parts of your journey?
Of course, as being a dancer, I could say my moments with the moment with George Faison, working with him doing The Wiz. We got to wear the original costumes. And so some of those people are no longer living.
Wow.
So we would be looking in the costumes and looking at the names, and like there was an energy about that. Like when you put on those costumes, it was like magic. And you could feel tired and exhausted, and it felt like those people's spirits would come and jump in you for you to be able to carry on. So the experience to do The Wiz with the original choreographer was in the original costumes was absolutely magical.
Literally like an outer body experience.
It was. And I can say the dancers back then were super snatched.
Because those costumes were tiny.
Okay. And there was no give. Okay. So
no elastic on.
You know what I'm saying? So that was an experience in itself. I can say Henson Battle, God rest his soul, because he just recently passed away.
Yes.
Yeah, he was one of my mentors. Working with him, I got to do something with him in Idlewild. And then there was other projects that we worked on. He was directing a project about Anne Frank and Emmett Till.
Yes.
And the parallels of their stories. So I got to assist him with that.
Wow. Was this
And that was Senator Cohen and his wife.
Was this the play?
Mm-hmm.
So a good friend of mine, Roz White, she played, I believe, the mother.
Okay.
Yeah, and she's also a Howard alum.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So he had done that for a very long time, that project. So I got to work with him in the beginning on that, and then working with him on some other films that, it was a film that we worked on, and the project didn't come out, but it was absolutely magical. 3 months of your life, and you get to work with some of the best,
Well, hopefully it doesn't stay in the vault forever.
Hopefully it doesn't stay in the vault. Hopefully somebody will do a documentary and we'll see that, But working with Hinton, he was magic. He was absolutely magic. Just to watch him, And then I can say working with a Jackson is an experience.
Oh, please do tell.
I just think, you grow up and you see a family who's extremely talented, and then you turn around and you get to work with one of them,
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. The work ethic, the dedication, the precision in which they pick and take and look in their craft is undeniable. And I feel like I learned a lot, in her camp. I learned a lot. I did. I learned a lot. You learn a lot. Very patient. She'll sit down and you'll one-on-one stand in front of her with what you're going to wear for a video or whatever. Like, that's unreal. Usually you go to a job and they're like, this is what you're wearing, go to your fitting. But she's present through it all,
Wow. That has to be also fulfilling as a dancer, because a lot of times, we're, as dancers, you are the background, you're the support. And so to have the main artist, the Janet Jackson.
And she loves dancers.
See you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She loves dancers. And I love that about her.
I think everybody does. Anybody who has ever gone to see Janet, I got to see her in Vegas, I think it was maybe the year before COVID. And I couldn't stop thinking about all of the transitions, and the dancers were always amazing. There was never a moment where you're like, oh, this person's tired. And she didn't look tired either.
Right.
And so, when you talk about the work ethic, I remember hearing that anytime that you see that Janet Jackson is back on it, it was because Laura Bethany was around.
I wouldn't even say that. Her creative director and choreographer, Gil Dildalau, he is no joke. He is magic in a box as well. But I did get to coach with her during Super Bowl, and then some of the Demita Joe projects, some things, so that was a privilege and an honor, But she's perfect. Do you know what I'm saying?
I mean,
she's perfect.
Yeah. No, literally.
Yeah.
So what would you say has been one of the most fulfilling opportunities that you had, whether it was as a dancer, as a choreographer?
I got it.
All right.
The most fulfilling thing that I've done for myself is to have a 20-year career and come back out of that 20 years and finish my last semester of college to get my BFA during COVID.
Yeah.
I don't care what job, nothing will ever trump the way that I felt when I went back to get that BFA, because I did that for me.
Yeah. So what was that last semester like? I know it was during COVID, and so Zoom school was a thing. But
it was
what
Zoom
was
school.
What was that like?
It was Zoom school. It was challenging because you got to go back and you got to write a paper. The history of dance, darling.
Yes.
It's a lot.
And you are part of the history of dance, by the way. But
Thank you. But writing papers, and it's a lot. Who wants to do that in their 40s? Like, why? Why, Lord?
I don't think people in their teens and 20s want to do it either. But right.
And I was afforded the opportunity to also teach on Zoom. So I would clear the living room, set up the monitor, and have the computer as well. And the kids would be in their home or their apartments. And it was fulfilling to do that at my school. But I have always been like, oh, I'm going to graduate. Oh, I'm going to graduate. Oh, I'm going to graduate. I'm going to graduate. I'm going to do it. And it was something inside, like, I have to do it. I have to do it.
So you've been on world tours, been on literally every stage, every screen that you could possibly think of. And yet, the thing that you're feeling fulfilled about is the thing that you started off doing, which was working on that degree.
Yeah.
Before you went off to A-League, before you went off
Absolutely.
to LA. Wow. Talk about full circle.
It's full circle.
So what was it like now, 20 years later, working with some of those same professors that you had?
What it is amazing, because you come back as a grown-up and you're like, now I understand why you were saying the things to me that you were saying to me, and the kids are different these days.
Yes.
Like, the kids are dancing in socks, and I'm like, but the bottom of the sole of your foot has to hit the marley.
Yeah.
But they're sock dancers now.
They're not getting the blisters and the callus.
No.
Yeah. It's different. It's a different world.
It's a different world. But it was great to come back and to be able to have a professor that you came from, to be able to deliver for them, Yeah. It was a beautiful thing. I enjoyed it. And I also got to really see, the changes in dance and academia. It's changed a bit.
Yes.
And it's coming back around.
Yeah.
But I think, and I don't like to say this, but sometimes I feel like kids get coddled, and I feel like in our day, it was tear the Band-Aid off.
And go.
Correct.
Yeah. I think that, especially in academia, it's hard to find a balance. I think that, of course, there's a lot of things that are becoming mandated, as far as providing emotional support and physical support. And I also think there's a challenge in between that of how do we prepare dancers for the real world, and then also how do we prepare them to be able to take care of themselves inside that real world. And so being in a space where you get to make decisions for yourself, but also know that your decisions are going to have a consequence.
Correct.
Right? And so that consequence, if you want the consequence to include a job, you have to weigh your options. And I think that is one of the challenges that dance educators in probably even high school level, they're also having to figure out what that is. And it can get a little tricky.
It's very tricky.
And I think too, there's great argument and debate, and
they can hardly touch children now. To correct, you have to be careful.
Yes.
You can't just go correct a child or touch them or move them. You have to be very careful.
Yeah. I mean, and I think it's great because people have been taken advantage of.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I also think that it becomes difficult when the physical manipulation of body parts sometimes is needed to be able to actually make a correction, because you can't always feel what somebody is seeing, and then even the conversation about commercial dance versus concert dance versus theater. And I think that, like what you were saying, years ago, people were just dancing. They were training to dance.
They were doing everything.
Right. And so then that allowed them to do the concert. It also allowed them to do the commercial. It allowed them to go into the Broadway. And so I think that as you're talking about how dance in academia has changed, the teaching, the methodologies, and the way that things are categorized has also changed. But hopefully, at some point, there will be a better understanding of dance is dance. So if you put the heel on, you still have to pull up.
You do.
If you put the point shoe on, you gotta pull up. If you got the character shoe on, you gotta pull up. So I can't agree more in terms of how things have changed.
Yeah.
So what is keeping you inspired? What's keeping you busy? And what is keeping you focused right now?
Oh, that's a loaded question. It's loaded. Right now, I can say that I am in a transitional phase. Right now, I am being the student of all students.
Do tell.
I'm in grad school.
Wonderful.
For screenwriting, for television or film.
Yes.
As a dancer, we're always storytellers. And so...
Some of the best storytellers.
Some of the best storytellers with our bodies.
Absolutely.
And now I am ready to use the pen. And move the story from the body to the pen, to the paper, to the screen.
Wow.
I'm going to grad school so that I can turn around and tell stories and tell dance stories.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm really excited.
So that is really keeping all of my time, the majority of my time. It's a lot of writing, okay? Remember when I said back then I didn't want to write?
Right.
But now I'm writing, right? Okay.
What would be irony?
Lots of writing. So I'm inspired because I didn't think I could do it.
Really?
But then you get excited. Yeah, you get nervous. I've had a career. I'm doing something totally different. I'm starting from the bottom. You get nervous,
But you're not starting.
And everyone in my cohort has been writing for a very long time. This is my first time.
But you're not starting from the bottom.
I'm not, but I am. So it's scary, but it's exciting.
I'm excited for you.
Thank you. And the support is amazing. The support's amazing. My cohort, my friends, it's amazing. So that's what's keeping me busy. And then I was fortunate for you to call me back on the Marley, So we just did Dear Sister.
Thank you for answering the call.
Absolutely. I'm always answer a Bison's call, So that felt good as well. To be in a room with kids who are excited to learn,
Thirsty, hungry.
Yeah, and I felt that. So it felt really, really good. So it's probably going to light a little fire and a little candle inside for me to maybe I need to teach a little bit more, or, I do need to give back. So
you have so much. You really have so much. Watching you teach, it was amazing. I told you already that I, teared up a little bit because it was like being able to see people in real, in HD, in real life, who have applied themselves, who have gone through their journey and built a level of success for themselves, and then be able to articulate that to other people who see you, who admire you, and who you have inspired. It's really a beautiful thing, and I think that some of us do not realize just how impactful that is until they have those moments back on the Marley. And so I truly thank you for that.
Thank you. I thank you. It was a beautiful experience, and there's nothing like being on the Marley.
No.
You know, it's a lot of memories, but it feeds your soul. Like once a dancer, always a dancer.
Always.
It just comes. It comes.
Always. I saw someone post recently, when do I stop calling myself a dancer? And in my head, never. It never.
Always. We're always going to be moving.
Always.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you would like to share with our audience about staying inspired, doing the work, and how to get closer to their successful parts of their journey?
Well, what's very important for me is to say that the work is where the magic is. That is the magic. The finish, the punchline isn't the magic. Mm-hmm. The work is inside all of those days and nights that you're working, trying to get it right, trying to go back, fixing it. There is nothing like that. So when you're in that process, because sometimes I don't do this for myself, you need to journal. You need to open the computer up, press record, tell them how you feel, during that day, during the process, so that you have time to go back and remember all of that. Once you see the glory will always be glory, but what you do to get to glory, that's the most important.
Wow.
Because then you have the makeup and the medicine to get to glory another time, So that's really the most important for me. And staying inspired, inspiration comes and goes, and sometimes you don't have it. But when you don't have inspiration, that just means you need to go back to the things that made you happy. If it's going to yoga, I want to go back to yoga because that makes me feel good. That makes my body feel good. Yes. And then I'll get in the studio some more.
Yes.
So, or if that's painting or, whatever that is for someone, I think you have to take yourself out of the element in order to stay inspired. Because if you just stay in there, it's like running a rat race and you're going to burn out. You're going to burn. So you got to have some type of outlet. I think that's very important so that you can stay inspired. And then stop duplicating what you see. I love a reference.
Yes.
But I don't want to duplicate a reference. I want to be inspired by a reference,
Very different things.
Very different. So I think that, once again, always staying a student, you will get inspiration.
Yes. Yeah.
And when you feel like you're going to give up, that's when you just have to push a little bit harder. That's in professional, that's in personal, that's just in life. You know what I'm saying? You make decisions, and your decisions will, in the end, show you which journey you're going to be on.
Whew. Words to live by. Yeah. Well, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, this was absolutely delightful.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Oh, I appreciate you more. You have no idea, or maybe you do. But I'm so grateful that we've had this time. I'm glad we've gotten to talk and that you've been able to share these things. I learned quite a bit today.
And I'm not really a talker, I'm a doer, so I hope that I've shared enough information,
No, this has been wonderful.
I'm a doer.
Oh, we know.
Right, get me in the room.
Yes, on the Marley, off the Marley, period.
That part. See you on the big screen.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Well, until next time.
Later. Thank you.
Well, I certainly hope that you have enjoyed today's conversation on Dance for the Culture podcast. As always, you are welcome to continue this conversation with us by hitting that subscribe button. And if you're looking for more ways to stay connected, join us in our community at dancefortheculture.com.